In the aftermath of a conference, someone needs to pick up the fragments of silicon.
Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, the regular crew. This week in Mac's status update, he is not here. We haven't gotten a message of why, or, a formal message of anything. I'm assuming he's just asleep. That's happened before. He's literally slept through part of or all of the show. And yeah, that does put a question mark on last news desk, especially since Kevin's not going to be there for that show. But we'll roll with that when we come to it. In the meantime, let's get to the news, such as it is. Twilight, why don't you start us off this week?
All right. Well, there's not really too much to speak on besides erratic weather. Not really a whole lot. Well, there's the me and some neighbors got the landlady had me and some neighbor. She wrote to send us some helping her with some stuff Monday, so that's why I wasn't around then for the E3 reactions. And doing some landscaping stuff and some cleanup stuff. One of the neighbors is really messy. That's sort of a punishment for him. She got him to help us with that. It wasn't bad. I didn't mind it too much. Got some extra exercise in from besides my work day. So yeah, there was that. There's gonna be a new neighbor moving in one of the in one of the surrounding houses that the landlady owns. I think she's moving Friday, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, most of my neighbors actually end up speaking to on a daily basis. This now. So yeah, there's not much else. Gaming wise, the Monday sessions with Mac and Kira were canceled because Kira's out of town and Mac was too tired to do anything Monday, and I told him just take it easy. Yeah, I've been playing some of my game for Sunday, and that's it for me.
All right. Petty, you're up.
Well, we did the E3 stuff, so that's a thing. As far as overall me stuff, not a whole lot's really happened this week. So there is that. Just been kind of melting because it's been hot. And yeah, as far as gaming goes, Final Fantasy 14 raids are a bit crazy right now because we have one of the people, their computers borked again, and we're having a work scheduling issue with another one, so that's fun. So no clue when we're going to get back to doing that. And I got a couple games for the Switch because they have that big sale going. I got like Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 and I think the more recent Yu-Gi-Oh game, and I think that's it. Unless I'm forgetting something. And yeah, just been kind of here. existing in the moment.
Okay.
So I guess
All right.
next victim.
Gallix.
Nothing too much special here. Sunday MS Saga has been continuing. Though, I mean, Mac's been getting tireder and tireder, it seems like, so we'll see. But the plan is still to continue that. Um, looking forward to some of the stuff that they announced at E3, including now that I've been playing more of Age of Calamity, the DLC for that comes out this Friday-ish, I think. So that'll be interesting.
Did they ever fix the performance on Age of Calamity?
I'm not the person to ask about that. I don't know if it's been improved, but I never had any particular problems with it.
Then
But
again,
then,
you played Hyrule Warrior Legends on 3DS. So
not much, but yes. That I noticed problems with.
yeah.
I don't really even really register if it's a little bit framey sometimes, but I haven't been having any significant issues. Then again, I've also haven't been playing 2-player in this, so which is one of the times that you're supposed to get a lot of problems.
Hmm.
Anyway, yeah, not a whole lot else, I don't think. I still need to play my game for this week a bit.
Okay.
And
All right.
that's all.
All right. Guess it's my go. Yeah. My week was E3. Like E3 and more fucking E3. Like, you know, granted, we broadcasted all of the major conferences and Capcom.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't be there for most of those due to, work.
You didn't miss anything with Capcom.
Oh no, I have gone back and watched most of them, and I don't think I missed anything significant with any of them, except for maybe a couple things in Microsoft and Bethesda.
Right.
Some of the indie things that have come out had some interesting things, but
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, it's not just been, the major conferences. I've been keeping tabs on, some of the smaller stuff. Like, watch the Guerrilla Collective and the PC Gaming Show. Granted, when it comes to stuff like that, there are like so many indie titles. They kind of blur, especially when I seek to want to recruit them for the show down the line. But this is what recaps are for. And yeah, that's pretty much been my week. E3 stuff. And I guess in terms of gaming, let's see, just picked up the SNK 40th Anniversary Collection on Steam. SNK is running a promotion. This is $9. That's actually a really good price for something that runs like $25-$30. So yeah, this is like $30. Anyway, been playing more Saints Row 4. Been playing a game called Up and Down for review. It definitely lives up to its name. It's a solid enough puzzle game, though I think not much more than that. Like 10 boards in, and I'm already kind of bored with it. It does, mix up its gimmick, but it's just like it's just up and down. More on that on Sunday. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our news segment for the week. So, merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast. And joining us this week is James Martin of Walk Home Games.
Hello. It's
Hello.
great to be here.
It's good to have you. Right, so how we like to get started is we like to get to know the person, what have you. And we start by asking this particular question. What got you interested in video gaming, both in a professional and a personal capacity?
Yeah, I think like personally, I mean, I got into video games. I mean, really just because I was a kid. I mean, like I've probably been playing video games since I was like 6, and I've just always enjoyed playing video games. And then as I got older and I got a computer, then I got more interested in like modifying games or things like that. And I found Game Maker. That was kind of the first program I found for making games. But it really wasn't until like there was an expo that was held in my local area. So I'm from Prince Edward Island, which is a small province in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And at that conference, I got to see a lot of the game companies in my local area and understand that like I could work in my local area if I wanted to. Like I wouldn't have to move to Vancouver or Montreal. And so that really kind of got me more interested in games, and also just my local university was also very supportive of game development. Like they had a computer science program, but it also had like a video game programming specialization. So they encouraged people to kind of get into developing video games.
I mean, I suppose that depends on what kind of video game you're developing, or rather, if you might want to get into the higher end of the industry, as they call it, the AAA stuff, you probably have to move to like Ontario or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, well, even in Prince Edward Island in Charlottetown, we have an EA Charlottetown, but they only develop mobile games. So like they developed the Simpsons Tapped Out game, for example. So even there are some kind of AAA companies there, but yeah, you're right. Like if you want to get kind of more of the console experience, you'd have to move out to Montreal or Vancouver.
Anyway, and I'm guessing that's not a track that appealed to you.
No, I mean it is kind of funny because like right now I actually live in Japan, so I'm actually very far from home. But yeah, initially I was kind of interested in staying home and getting to work from there.
Well, I guess the next question from there is, are you in Japan for the purposes of, developing a video game, or is that unrelated?
It's more so unrelated. It was really my wife is Japanese, and so we decided to move here, um, and I could still work for the company that I work for in Canada. I haven't asked them if I can mention them, so I probably won't mention them just in case. But yeah, I work for a company in Canada just remotely from Japan.
I'm like, well, I mean, it is still kind of the era of working remotely, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, anyway, getting back on track here. So, what made you jump into professional video game development? Like to release a game commercially.
I think it's something I've kind of always wanted to do. I mean, I have released a few games on mobile, but I've always wanted to do like a PC game because with mobile, for example, like you can't really get like streamers or anything like that, but it's fun to watch people play your game, and you don't really get that experience on mobile. Plus, I mean, I'm sure you guys know too that the marketplace on mobile is even more competitive, and it's even harder to kind of be noticed unless you're doing like a free to play game with a bunch of microtransactions and
So,
stuff like that.
so we've been told by the very occasional mobile developer we have on the program.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it is a very, very competitive and crowded field. Though,
Yeah.
a lot of fields are crowded these days.
Hmm.
Like, anyway, so I suppose that gets us to, well, the game of the featured presentation here, and that is cardful planning. Right. So I suppose for the uninitiated, what is cardful planning?
So cardinal planning, it's kind of like I guess kind of like an adventure game, but with some kind of puzzle elements to it. Essentially, you play as a playing card, and there's 4 areas in the game that you'll unlock a new ability in each area for each card suit, and you're kind of using these abilities to get further in those areas, and then eventually getting to the boss.
And there's quite a bit to unpack here. I suppose the most obvious question is why playing cards?
I mean, part of it is kind of, I like part of it was kind of just trying to work with my strengths and stay away from my weaknesses. So, like, I don't consider myself to be a very good artist or an animator, and I just felt like if I make a playing card, like, there's not a lot of animation I have to do. Like I don't need to have a walk animation or run animation or jump or climbing. I just kind of have a card that I can just flip around, and so it kind of saves on that. This was kind of an idea that I had a little while ago, but like I couldn't really picture how it would look. Like in my mind, I was picturing something that was more kind of suited for like a mobile game, but then I was working on another project of mine in a kind of 1-bit art style. And I kind of looked at this idea and I thought this would probably work in a 1-bit art style as well.
I mean, it seems to translate fairly well. It's like, uh, not just only is it all clean and legible. Like you can tell that you are a playing card, and why an adventure game?
It really kind of started as like really as like a straight up puzzle game, like early kind of early work that I had done on it. When you would get to the end of a level, like it would say level passed. But the more I worked on it, the more I kind of wanted to put some kind of a narrative into it, and also I just in general I like adventure games, and I just thought that it kind of suited it a little better than making it like a straight up puzzle game.
I mean, if nothing else, it stands out. Like,
Yeah, that's definitely something I've heard from a lot of people.
well, it's not just the premise. I mean, yeah, that alone is unique, but it's like the art style here is definitely one that I don't see that often on the even on the indie circuit. This for I think the best way to put it is a vector-based graphic style. I'm not sure if it's actually vector-based, but this reminds me of like some early '80s arcade games or the Vectrex, only in color.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I mean, it's kind of I'm not even really sure what style I would say. Like it's everything in the game is, I think for the most part, 16 by 16. It's just Unity itself is kind of handling the sizing and everything, but the sprites themselves are all 16 by 16, except maybe I think some of the bosses are a little stretched out and everything.
Mm-hmm. And now, in terms of puzzling elements, what are you trying to figure out?
I mean, so for every level, basically you're trying to there's a little yellow square in every level that will have a kind of a slightly transparent card that's kind of like an outline. And what you want is you want your card to have that card's value. And then if you can reach that area with that value, then you unlock the door and you can go to the next level. So the puzzle, that's kind of part of the puzzle. There's also some levels that are a little more challenging, like one of the abilities you have is you can move blocks around, and so with these blocks you may have to kind of move them so that you can access areas of a level that you can't access normally.
Mm-hmm. And was it difficult coming up with ideas for puzzle rooms?
Yeah, it was. I think actually the hardest part really was coming up with abilities in the game, because the abilities in the game really, in a way, dictate some of the puzzles that you can make. One of the early abilities I had in the game was one of the abilities is you can flip your card without moving, and that can have benefits if there's a card beside you that you want to collect, because you can only collect cards if you land face up on them. But another ability I had initially put in the game was the ability to rotate the card 90 degrees. But what I found was it has a very limited use case of like you can't come up with a lot of really interesting puzzles with that. So I think really the hardest part was just coming up with those with abilities I felt were able to create kind of interesting puzzles.
And what sort of abilities do you acquire throughout the game?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first ability that you get is the club ability, and it allows you to carry blocks around. So you can lift them, you can use them to block attacks from enemies like the arrows. You can use them to kind of access certain areas that you can't access, or you can use them to block lasers. Um, Another ability is the dash, and this is kind of one of the important abilities in the game because it allows you to get around the level much quicker. Um, the third ability is the spade ability, which allows you to throw this spade projectile, and you can use that for triggering switches or for taking out crossbows. And then the last ability is the heart ability, which allows you to just flip the card. So this one here was it was harder to do because it's similar in ways to the dash. Like the benefit of it is similar to the dash, because the dash ability allows you to move without flipping. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but basically, I kind of had to come up with some different levels for the heart ability that would, I guess, make sense for that ability.
And what did you come up with there?
So basically, what I would do is, um, if I place a lot of cards that you can pick up in the game, if I place them all near each other, then you can't use the dash ability, because if you dash over cards that are when your card is face up, then you'll collect all of them. But in some cases, you may only want to collect one of them. So it kind of forces you to not use the dash and instead just use the heart ability.
So these are actual abilities and not just level themings.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Exactly.
I presume then you have combination rooms down the line?
Yeah, like the game kind of builds up as you go. So the first area is designed to be playable with just that first ability. And then the second area is designed to be playable with just the first two abilities. But as you're playing the game, you can, once you've completed 6 levels in one area, it'll automatically unlock the next area. So if you get stuck, you can kind of go to one of those other areas and play that for a bit and come back.
Okay. And I'm noticing from the trailer here there are some boss encounters.
Yeah. There's a boss at the end of each area, and then there's the final boss. These were definitely also challenging to come up with too, because I wanted something that wouldn't take a really long time. I also wanted something that would look good enough in the kind of the art style. So these ones definitely
And really, what's the
took a
arch
while.
enemy of a playing card?
Oh man, yeah. There's a couple different arch enemies. I mean, there's that. That was another thing too with the traps in the game was I was trying to think of okay, what are things that can destroy a playing card? So there's fire and lasers and scissors and spikes, stuff like that.
And to be fair, those are all enemies of a playing card. In
Mhm.
Exactly.
theory. Like,
Exactly.
anyway, yeah. So, how long does the game take to complete?
Man, this is kind of it's a varied question because I mean I've seen people that have completed it, maybe like it's not a very long game. I'll start and say that, but some people can complete it in an hour. For me, like I've played it so many times that I can complete it in like under 15 minutes. But that's because I just know all the timing of enemies and everything. But I would say probably about an hour to maybe 2 hours, something like that.
Mm.
There's also, I should add too, there's also a speed run mode in the game too, so people can try to get the best or the fastest times in the game as well.
There's also a hardcore mode, which is interestingly enough ranked.
Yeah, that's like the kind of the fewest deaths mode is a more challenging mode because if you die in that mode, then the room will reset and you'll have to start from the beginning. Whereas in the other modes of the game, if you die, then it just respawns you, but the room kind of stays the same.
Hmm. Do you have any plans to add for any additions post launch?
Yeah, I've thought about possibly doing more, maybe another mode with like a limited number of lives. I've also had someone express interest in like the way the game is right now is after you complete those 4 areas, the final area is just the boss fight. There's no more kind of levels after that, and I've thought about adding more levels into that area potentially. I'd also like to add, in the game, there's a kind of an opening cutscene, but when you complete the game, there's no opening cutscene. I was just kind of running out of time and couldn't really put a final cutscene at the end, and so that's also something I've thought about adding as well.
Have you considered releasing a level editor for the game?
Yeah, it's something I have. I know it would be interesting. It would definitely be quite a bit of work, unfortunately. I mean, if I did, I would probably. I don't know if I would, have levels be releasable through Steam Workshop or possibly just some kind of copy and paste, like a big text or something like that. But it's something I thought about. But in its current implementation, it would definitely take a little while, especially because I work on this game in my free time as well. So.
All right. I'm presuming that you are the only one who works on the game.
Yeah, I'm the only one. All the music in the game is all like public domain stuff that I found. Actually, some of this art is from. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him, but Kenny, he does a lot of public domain assets, and a lot of these like the cards and stuff are from his assets, and then the other things are kind of stuff that I made to kind of look like his assets.
Okay. No, it's not an uncommon solution. It's a perfectly serviceable thing to do, especially for a solo dev to, use some pre-made assets.
Sure.
I know there are certain people out there who decry such a thing, but
Yeah.
Here's the thing: a lot of them don't really know how much of the sausage is made out of pre-made assets.
Yeah.
Depending on the game, we're not, we're not talking about asset flips here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like even games with a lot of effort into them will have that kind of thing, or they'll have assets from one place used in another place, all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so how long did it take you to make Cardful Planning here?
Sure. Yeah, so this took about, I mean, first off, it took a lot longer than I had planned. I was thinking maybe I wanted to have it done like 6 months, but in terms of the time frame, it took about a year of like just free time of working on it during my free time. It was from like May of last year to May of this year. I launched on May 19th.
I keep saying it, and it'll always be true. We had a dime for every time somebody said
Yeah.
these exact words.
Yeah.
But I mean, and what's the reception been since it got released?
Yeah, I think pretty good. I think it's got positive reviews so far. I think people have been pretty happy with it, and it's tough though too because it's like it can be a hard game, especially if you're not really sure what's going on. Then it can definitely be challenging, and some people don't like that.
Understandable.
Exactly.
I suppose it depends on what you're getting into.
Mm.
It's like there is a casual mode. It should be noted.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, and do you have any ideas for a sequel?
I don't know. I think I'd probably end up working on a different game. If like I'd like to maybe add a little more content to this game, but I think for a sequel, I'm not sure what more I could do. I mean, I did have an idea of possibly having two cards and you control both of them. But for now, yeah, there's nothing planned that far.
I suppose to further elaborate on that, have you considered a multiplayer version of this game?
Yeah, I've considered like a couple of things. I even considered like some kind of like a roguelike or something, that kind of like procedurally generates rooms or something like that. Multiplayer, I've thought about like, I'm not sure it could possibly be like a race or maybe, I guess with the idea I said of, having two cards, you could possibly have two people controlling, one controlling, each controlling a card, that kind of thing. It would be a pretty cool thing, I think, but it just depends on how much time I have available, I guess.
I'm like, do you foresee this being a full-time gig down the line, or are you fine having it being a free time affair?
I'm fine having it being a free time thing. I mean, sure, it'd be cool for it to be a full time thing, but I also have my own, work, and I do, like a lot of ports through this job. So I've done some ports for the Switch and stuff. So I still kind of get a good amount of fulfillment from that work as well.
All right. And yeah, I think I've asked all my questions. I'll turn it over to my colleagues here to see if they have any of their own.
I think all mine have been answered.
I'm good, but I'm looking forward to trying the game out.
All right. That sounds great.
Answered.
Right then. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule here, James. It was lovely talking to you. Sadly, I didn't get a chance to get to the game myself because just got swamped with E3 stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I know everybody's lots of coverage, and
Yeah.
I haven't had time to really go back to the game much. I do have, so the game, it's available on Steam, available on itch. The itch version also includes a Steam key, and I'm launching it, I think, on maybe June 29th on Vox Pop Games. I know you guys did an interview with one of the guys there. I think in season 10 or something. But
it was just a few months ago. We
Oh,
did an
yeah.
interview with their CEO.
Yeah, so I've been in talks with them on getting. I think it's available now to wishlist through Fox Pop Games, but yeah, that it'll be launching on there soon, I think, and yeah, I mean, I see some people in chat too. Iceman is one of the guys that he actually streamed the game a while ago, so shout out to him, and yeah, I hope that anybody who buys it enjoys it and has a good time playing it.
All right then. Right, so that'll about do it. The game is Cardful Planning. It's currently available on Steam and itch. It retails for $7.99. Be sure to pick it up today. Petty, play us to the next segment. All right, welcome to the topic of discussion. I'm sure it's not a surprise, but we are talking E3 wrap-up. The E3 2021 has come and gone. Quite the whirlwind affair.
Honestly, mostly gone.
Well, I mean, it was a weird year because, we had an event, but, it was kind of split off with other things, primarily the Summer Game Fest. Honestly, some of the biggest stuff announced at quote-unquote E3 was at the Summer Game Fest opener. Like Elden's Ring. That game was an event closer. It's just that didn't close an E3 event.
They had a lot more footage for it at E3, though.
Yeah. Not at the Bandai Namco conference. Like, I scrapped that because I got wind that was just going to be the third in the Dark Pictures anthology, and that alone.
Yeah, the absolute balls, especially with how many games are still in limbo at the moment from Namco Bandai.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think they showed off one anime game, if you don't count Tales of Arise. And I don't, since, that's not in their anime division. It's a whole thing with them. They explained it to us once. Anyway, so thoughts on this year's E3? Yeah, you can tell COVID is still an issue. I know we're rounding the corner on that, but that doesn't mean that shit hasn't been hit hard. That being said, if you don't have shit to show, you don't have to show up with your own conference. Capcom, nobody was asking you for a conference. You're not known for doing them. And I don't know why you picked this year when you had jack and shit to show.
I think that would have been an improvement, though.
Possibly. Yeah, it's like, and apparently they put that out beforehand. It's just, you don't do that at E3 because, and to the people defending Capcom on this, okay, E3 comes with certain expectations. The expectations are you come here to show off new games.
The stuff they showed off wasn't bad, but it also wasn't like new, great.
Yeah, like Monster Hunter Stories. Like honestly, I think that had a bigger presence at the Nintendo Treehouse. Like, better showcase for it as well. I'm like, As far as the other conferences, uh, Bethesda and Microsoft, or Xbox and Bethesda, however you want to frame that. It was, I know people are raving about this one because they
for the
delivered.
lack of competition, if nothing else.
Well, it's like the only other competition was Nintendo. Um, in terms of like E3 stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, they at least had a few interesting looking new things and some interesting looking new footage of like we had more footage of Psychonauts 2. That's nice. We knew that was coming. But what was it called? Whatevered?
You mean Redfall or what? Like
No, the other one. It was right after Atomic Heart, I think, which also looked neat.
not really remembering. It's kind of the problem I've always had with Microsoft E3 events.
Mm-hmm.
Like their lineup is just, I get that there's a, this is still like just the reaction to.
Well, and you like
bad,
PC gaming and first-person shooters.
yeah, but it's like the Microsoft's conferences for a while now to me have just been a deluge of game, not just game after game after game, but a lot of the same fucking looking games as well. Granted, that's more of a problem with the AAA developers more than anything else. That being said, yeah, Microsoft brought brought the games, which has been a critique. Apparently, like I saw an article about the Xbox drought is over. I should hope fucking so. Like, did you notice how many fucking companies they bought the last couple of years? They bought a major fucking publisher. They better have games.
Indeed.
Like that is what I would expect after spending $7 billion on Bethesda alone. You better have some fucking games there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Bethesda opened up the show with Starfield, which, despite the presence of Todd Howard, people are still excited for.
uh,
Look, I still haven't forgiven him for Fallout 76, and yeah, Fallout 76 alone should earn him several side eyes, or at the best.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it ended with, well, I keep forgetting the Redfall, Redguard.
Redfall.
Yeah, Redfall. Redguard was an old Bethesda RPG.
Yeah, some people heard about Redfall being trademarked and thought that was actually going to be the Elder Scrolls game that's supposed to be coming up, but yeah, turns out not to be true.
Yeah. I mean, the problem I have with Redfall is the goddamn CGI trailer.
Yeah.
There were a noticeable number of those, even in the Microsoft and Bethesda, that actually kind of had some stuff to show off one.
And I will never like these because they're just fucking bullshit or fantasy.
We've been burned too many times.
Yeah. It's like, look, you show some fucking in-engine stuff, or I'm just like, this is just pixie dust and fairy tales. Especially something like Redfall, which didn't actually tell me what the game was. Like, I'm guessing a third-person shooter affair, maybe squad-based. It's like the Outer Worlds 2 trailer was more informative, and they just had a fucking trailer of announcing that the Outer Worlds 2 is in production. At the very least, that's honest. This was, very fancy cartoons. I'm kind of running out of ways to express my distaste on them.
Mhm.
It's like, and I really think they should have ended the show on Forza Horizon 5. I'm not really a graphics person. Never have been. Um, I've had a lot of, just too many bad encounters with like PC gamers who, just because you spent $2,000 on your fancy computer rig doesn't mean you get to act smarmy and superior. These are the people who unironically call themselves the PC gaming master race. Just,
Mhm.
Yahtzee was doing that to take the piss out of you, right? No, of course you didn't. Just anyway. Yeah, Forza Horizon 5 looked really damn impressive. I'll give it that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not my kind of game at all, but I can appreciate the sheer craft on display. I suppose that's a lot of Microsoft for us. Not a lot of, like Stalker 2. I know I have friends who are absolutely insanely into that, but
Mhm.
I'm not. Um, I'm not too keen on it. I mean, for me, the event of the show was Nintendo. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think Nintendo, you know, in addition to quote unquote saving E3, I think they had the best presence. Um, Granted, that seems to depend on who you are. A lot of the major media outlets seem to prefer Xbox, Microsoft. Um,
Well, that's
but
because most of the stuff Nintendo had is very Nintendo centric.
Well, yeah, it's also, remember, Nintendo has only the Switch, and a lot of the big gaming and tech outlets are very, very technology focused. I.e., what is the cutting edge? What is producing the latest, fanciest graphics? That's always been a bent in the video
Mhm.
game industry, and it never ceases to piss me the fuck off. Um, you know,
Yeah,
and
again, saying the Xbox One was the best is either because you don't have or care for the Nintendo stuff,
Yeah.
or because that's what you're, yeah, for
I mean,
lack of there being anything else.
I think the best way I saw this expressed is, um, to,
Like Square Enix, literally like half of their presentation, it felt like was Marvel stuff, and
we
who
know.
knows? Who knows? The Guardian of the Galaxy game might be good, but I think the Nintendo one spent an appropriate goddamn amount of time on it.
I
Like,
was bitching about this during the conference.
yeah,
Yeah.
we we were kind of benumbed by Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, about halfway through that footage, I was like, go on already. Something
Like
else, please.
it might be good. It might be fucking over microtransactionized ass. And either way, it's
Um,
still doing the kind of jarring thing that the Avengers did, because they can't use the likenesses of the movie characters, but they're trying to make everything as close as possible to the movies, except for making the characters look right.
okay, on that note, they did say that this is a single player, third person action adventure game.
Yeah, and hopefully that means there won't be ridiculous microtransactions.
Well, yes, they said there will they are not doing that. It's not gas. No, that was reserved for Babylon Fall
Hmm.
for some reason. Like I don't know who this game is for, because it's like, Platinum Games, the kind of games that they develop, they're not really known for making gas games. Like, and the audience that they serve tend to not like gas games. So Square Enix, in their infinite wisdom, had Platinum Games make a gas game. then again, Square Enix is a monument to baffling fucking decisions.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just this fucking conference alone. The Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster project. Oh boy, did I see the complaints about this. Like, everybody is
Isn't the
complaining
issue with that it's like not going to be on what most people want it on?
yeah. That's the biggest issue, but not the only one. I mean, the biggest issue is, because this is coming to mobile and Steam, and everybody's like, where are the
Consoles,
consoles?
please. Switch, please.
That's basically what the discourse has been.
Yeah.
And it's also been, so you're gonna show any footage that looks good, because they had screenshots, but they were kind of flying by in a distant distant view. And they didn't put out any screenshots. They didn't put out any independent video. So the art assets that have been pulled from that trailer, they are suffering the full effects of YouTube compression, and they don't look all that good.
To put
The
it lightly.
well, it's like, because they are trying to determine what's going on with the actual pixel remastering. Because I don't know how familiar people are with the Final Fantasy V and 6 mobile ports. Like, those goddamn eyesores. We're trying to see if they're doing another one of those. Like, and from what's been determined, it's not that, but there's
The fact that
definitely
they're calling it Pixel Remake suggests that they're going to be fairly true to the original aesthetic.
Well, from the assets that were pulled from the video, it does look like there's some loss of detail, but the problem is, because they didn't source some actual goddamn screenshots, we don't actually know how badly the detail issue is.
Is this an issue with the source material or the video quality?
Video quality.
Yeah.
Well,
no, that's what I mean. Like, is it actually that bad, or is the bad video quality making it look worse? Is what I mean.
We don't know. Exactly.
Right.
It's just so many. Why did you do this? Questions here. And that applies to the show ender, Final Fantasy Origins.
AKA Jack from the Kmart in downtown some fucking town in Michigan versus Chaos.
I'm like, what fucking 2009?
And Jack is his actual name, by the way, apparently.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh god.
This does look like 2009.
Parking lot of a Kmart in Michigan.
I thought this kind of game kind of went out of style. Oh, it is inexplicable in its hilarious edginess.
Yeah.
I want to know how you came to the conclusion that this was a good idea.
Ask Nomura about that.
Oh, it's going to be hilarious. It's going to be awful, but it's going to be hilarious.
I'm kind of hoping for that.
Anyway.
Who knows? It may be an actual isekai.
I wouldn't.
That would at least be novel-ish, maybe.
That would explain their clothes.
Yeah.
What? Why are they wearing those clothes? They're supposed to be in ye old medieval times.
Yeah.
We already know what
they got thrown out of Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, there's official Amano art for Final Fantasy 1, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't think Square knows what this is. Anyway, getting back to the MVP, Nintendo, they just brought a lot of stuff, that either we didn't know we wanted or, we wanted but never thought we were getting.
They pulled off the only we don't have any footage of Metroid Prime 4, but that would not have resulted in massive outrage.
Riots.
Namely, we don't have Metroid Prime 4, but we do have regular Metroid 5.
Right. Yeah. So Metroid Dread. Yeah.
As was teased back in Prime 3, apparently.
Uh, even
In
before
a
then,
data log.
well, here's the thing. Metroid Dread first became public knowledge about 2004, 2005. I forget if it was publicly announced, but it was definitely floating around in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And they confirmed that this was a thing back in the day with the history of Metroid thing they put out after the show.
Yeah, just short
Yeah.
form is, well, we were going to do this, but we couldn't figure out how to make it work as well as we wanted to. But then we had these guys do the remake of Metroid 2, and that was pretty good. So we said, hey, you want to do this?
And yeah, I know that's put off some people. It's like,
Yeah,
there
but
were
some people are
who,
also very happy about it.
I know. I'm just, I do have to acknowledge the fact that Mercury Steam returning is not people's favorite thing in the world. I figured that they were returning as soon as the charge block showed up.
Yeah.
Like,
It looks like it's literally running on mostly the same engine as Samus
Right.
Returns.
it just looks a lot prettier because it's not constrained by the 3DS.
Mhm.
I'm like, I do agree.
We have
also
a new suit design. We have a new enemy.
Yeah.
We're progressing the timeline. We'll see what's up with presumably the Federation being kind of pissed off at Samus for blowing up their space station.
I'm like, Adam's back. Oh God.
In fairness, it's Computer Adam, who is pretty cool.
I still have flashbacks to Metroid Fusion.
Well, we'll hope that they allow you to travel a bit more freely than in Fusion.
I will acknowledge.
I should clarify that by
stuff.
Computer Adam is pretty
They
cool. I
said-
meant that by the end of the game, he was being cool.
Yeah, I'm just, he is, he is not my favorite person or AI in the Metroid universe. So yeah, hopefully he's reined in this time around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, I did see some critiques about at least the early game looking fairly sterile. I definitely see that, but it's like we only saw literally the beginning of the game. Way too soon to make any judgment calls on what's going on with the overall, level art design.
Also, looking forward to many highlight videos of the game with various dialogue from GLaDOS over it.
Oh, Shodan if you're feeling feisty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Shodan didn't have quite as much of the white ceramic or whatever aesthetic.
Right. Anyway, though the conference did start off with a new Smash reveal, and that is the Devil Kazuya of Tekken fame.
Not Heihachi because question mark, but yeah. Having a Tekken representative is fairly natural considering where they've gone with previous stuff. It's not what a lot of people were expecting.
I'm sure
but
we'll get the.
It's fine.
I'm sure we'll get the explanation in the character video.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Devil Kazuya. I understand Heihachi's kind of the face of Tekken these days, but he was the face of early Tekken, which this seems to be harkening back to.
Plus Heihachi is also if his Mii costume isn't already in, they're probably going to re-add it.
Right. That's another thing. He's already been repped in Smash, so this doesn't break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
as far as how he's going to play, I'm interested to see how that's going to work out because Tekken is a 3D fighter.
Yeah, it'll probably be mostly. I mean, he obviously won't be moving in 3D. I've seen some speculation that they might have the A and B buttons mapped to his arms and legs, like Min Min kind of did with her right and left arms.
Yeah, that could work out.
Because Tekken has the control scheme where your buttons aren't like strong punch and weak punch. They're like left punch, left kick, and right kick.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as how this character has gone down, pretty smoothly actually.
The usual amount of people being I don't know who this is, and people being what do you mean you don't know who this is? But that's kind of inevitable.
Yeah. I mean,
Again, this is a thing for fighting game fans mostly, and it's finally we have a place where Street Fighter versus Tekken versus King of Fighters can happen.
Yeah. To be fair, like Tekken is the best-selling fighting game franchise on Earth now. So it makes sense that and Bandai Namco Games has been developing the Smash series since 4.
Yeah,
so,
and their only other representation in this is Pac-Man, which is fine, but it would be nice to have a little bit more.
Yeah, I think this is more than justified. Also, the rare villain.
Yeah, part of the reason they chose him, I mean, aside from Sakurai's probably a big fan or something, the Devil mode is an interesting mechanic to add to some of his stuff. So they at least suggested that he gets it by KOing opponents, but who knows?
Let's see. Other things were Mario Party Superstars, which is a weird remake best of thing.
Yeah, it's a repackaging of. Well, they already did a remake of Mario Party that was the best mini games from all Mario parties, but the game mode was kind of blah. So for this, they're putting in several of the best liked games, but also several of the best liked boards from various Mario Party games.
I think it's like 6 boards from the N64 Mario parties.
Yeah, from the fairly early ones where there was sort of consistency in design.
Yeah. And the big topper was online for everything, which was
which will be interesting to see for some of the mini games.
Yeah, which was which is what people have been wanting for a while now, and nobody's been complaining about this being basically a remake because, well, let's just say people have had a lot of problems with modern Mario Party.
Yeah, it's a remix / best of thing.
I mean, even
and that's generally a good thing.
Yeah, even Super Mario Party had a problem. Yeah, had some problems.
It was a big improvement over most of the other fucking ones they've done. Over like the last 2 they did before that.
Well, I mean, they didn't bring that stupid car back. Ask for that.
That's the biggest issue is that I kind of understand the computing reasons for that, but it severely hampers the fun of playing a board game when just everyone moves around the board together, and also the board is pretty much entirely a straight line, and you're not likely to go around the whole thing more than once unless you're playing in like fucking 50 turns mode or something that no one ever has the goddamn time to do.
Yeah. Anyway, the other big surprises here were WarioWare Get It Together. I gotta admit, I'm not quite sold on that one. I know people are raving because it's new WarioWare, but I'm not really liking the character floating thing. Like, kind of.
Well, instead of doing like redoing a huge another new motion gimmick or something, it looks like that's what they're going with. Is that in this one your way of interacting with stuff is with various WarioWare characters instead of.
Yeah, I just don't want another WarioWare touched.
Fair.
Like, let's see, there was Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp.
Which is that's a series that the Famicom Wars series overall has been silent since the GameCube and DS.
Right.
And no one, I mean, it definitely has a dedicated fan base. And
Have you actually played any of them?
yes,
Okay, just asking. But yeah,
I got my ass kicked mostly in the first one, but
I got fairly far, but I won't lie. Advance Wars 1 is really fucking obtuse. I hope they fix some of that in this. But okay, so Advance
just
Wars.
remember, use APCs as distractions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like like Eagle's fucking CO ability.
Yes, it's fucking broken. It takes longer to charge up than anyone else's, I think. But
still, that is
yes, getting an extra turn, even if you have shit defense for it, is pretty overpowered.
Yeah. But yeah, Reboot Camp is actually being developed by Way Forward,
which explains the bouncy, cartoony art style.
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, the actual animation's very improved. The art style is controversial, like because it's a 3D remake of a pixel art game, and people are losing their minds over that. Like,
they also are going for a kind of an overall board game aesthetic, which you can see around the edges of the map.
Like, I will say the character art's definitely worse, but the animation is so much better.
And they've done an interesting thing with some of the character designs. I haven't looked at the Japanese version to see if they're still giving Olaf a white beard or whatever his Japanese name is, Whip, I think. Because there were some character design changes for the US versions. In all of the games, they gave Olaf a brown beard instead of a white one. In the first game, they changed his fucking literal Santa hat to a commissar cap, and then that one stayed on both of them from both sides from 2 forward. And Grit does have a cowboy hat in this one, which was changed. They basically cut the brim off, and the end result is that it looked kind of like an Ushanka. I think that's the name of that kind of hat.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've done that. The character designs, they definitely look more cartoony than they did, or I guess more cartoony. More cartoony than anime, maybe. I don't know.
I think that basically it's like people wanted this to look like Wargroove. It's just I can't remember the last time Nintendo did high res pixel art. That really doesn't seem to be a thing that they do.
Also, it's no, Wargroove isn't uncolorful, but also if you want it to look like Wargroove, you can play Wargroove. It exists.
I'm just saying what people have been bitching and moaning about. On the third party field, we had the likes of Mario plus Rabbids, Spirits of Sparks of Hope, which was and the most interesting thing at Ubisoft's goddamn conference.
Yes, and that looks good, but that's mostly because the first one was good.
Mm-hmm. Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Which we knew about, but had literally nothing before except for like a couple of art pieces.
And having seen some of the game now, yeah, it's a Shin Megami Tensei game.
It sure is.
Yeah. Not sure what's going on with the protagonist.
I think he fell out of it. He fell out of the androgynous tree and got hit with every branch on the way down.
Well, saying he may be egregious because they refuse to use any pronoun identifiers here.
I think it's been said that he's a dude, and he certainly was wearing a male uniform.
Well, I mean, they kind of backtracked on that, or like something was going on there because they were not identifying this character for shit here. Like, and I know, so that tells me it was deliberate. Like,
you might be right, and that would be interesting because they've never had a just female main character. Although this isn't the first egregiously androgynous one.
Yeah.
For
I'm,
Apocalypse also had an extremely androgynous.
yeah. I'm not discounting that, but you know, they were holding back like any kind of identifier signifiers here, which is eyebrow raising to me.
I've heard that it was confirmed, but I don't know where. And I've also heard that it's everyone in Japan is quite sure that it's a guy, but I
Like,
don't know.
yeah. Well, that's kind of the point here. They were so fucking vague that I can't definitively state one way or the other. Anyway, yeah, Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. Yeah, that's a thing.
Still looks decent to good.
I still maintain that this is the Saturday morning shonen version of Monster Hunter. Like, anyway,
It is a sequel to the first one.
you know, yeah. Like I said, a lot of things announced, like Life of Strange, the remastered collection, and True Colors is coming to the Switch. Um, Guardians of the Galaxy is coming in cloud game form because, of course, it is. How else were they going to do that?
What does that mean? Oh, that you'll be connecting to a remote server, McDeely?
Yep. Not the first game to do this on the Switch. Really, the only way you can get a game, like a current gen game on the Nintendo Switch. Cruisin' Blast is coming to the Nintendo Switch. This is the latest arcade cruising game.
I've seen at least 2 more people on the internet fairly excited for that than I expected, by which I mean I've seen 2.
Was one of them Matt McMustles?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, let's see, Arista Ascending, Worms Rumble, 2 Point
That
Campus.
one, the what's name Ascending, I think had a kind of neat art style.
Yeah, I haven't heard good things about. Apparently this is a mobile RPG.
Huh.
I'm like,
I'm not saying it's going to be a good game. I'm just saying it looked a little bit pretty.
Like the entire Danganronpa series is coming to Switch. And and of course, Nintendo closed the show with the sequel to Breath of the Wild. This is its
Which
current
has an official name, but they're not telling you because it would spoil stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, this is literally what they said.
Mm-hmm.
So it's right now just the sequel to Breath of the Wild. And yeah, so apparently we're heading to Skyloft.
Yep.
Which
kind of makes a interesting point on re-releasing Skyward Sword.
Yeah. Also worth mentioning, Nintendo is going to do another Game & Watch with The Legend of Zelda for the 35th anniversary of that series.
They also said that they aren't doing much else for the 35th anniversary, at least as far as Switch games go.
Well, keep in mind, let's see. They got a Game & Watch coming. They got an HD remastering of Skyward Sword, and they got a brand new game coming.
Although the brand new game is not coming until at least a year after that.
Close enough.
And you know how it goes with Zelda in terms of getting delayed right on schedule.
Good enough for government work.
All I'm saying is compared to Mario, they're not getting as much, and a lot of people were hoping they'd do like a 3D Zelda collection or some shit.
That would take a bit more work, I think.
I agree with you. I understand why they're not doing more.
Yeah,
just sharing with you that I've heard more than one person say that they wished that they were going to do more, and they're a little bit disappointed that they aren't.
Yep.
Yes, Breath of the Wild sequel looks good.
Yeah.
Lots of interesting, mysterious stuff, including weird arm attachments that give strange powers that resemble but are legally distinct from the Shikaruns in the first one. Different art style and clothing style. Enough stuff to make people wonder if time travel is going to be involved, which, to be fair, in the Zelda series, is only a little bit worse than a coin flip.
Yes. Anyway, So yeah, E3 2021. Thank you thank you Nintendo, and I guess to a lesser extent Microsoft, for actually, doing what an E3 should do. That being said, I expect that next year E3 will be fully in person. It's never going to go back to what it was. Not as long as Sony and EA are having whatever issues they're having with the ESA.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, uh, Pirate Radio Renegade Jeff Keighley is also on the outs with the ESA, so he's probably still going to keep up the Summer Game Fest. Like,
Oh, you know what? I never did watch the Devolver Digital thing.
I didn't watch it either, but that's because I legit hate these things.
Yeah, I only mention it because I'm vaguely curious as to what the fuck they're doing with their meta plot. They already released Metal Wolf Chaos. That's the only thing I really cared about in terms of
Yeah.
games, I think.
Anyway, so that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments Silicon. Max still hasn't shown up, so we have no idea if we're doing a last news desk this week. But the week ahead, no Friday show for this week, or really for the rest of the season, which is really only 2 more weeks after this. But we did have a show for next Friday, but that got pushed to August, due to I think it was a family emergency. Oh well. Anyway, on the Sunday reviews, we will be having reviews of Up and Down, Thunder Flash, Ultra Goodness 2, and Erica, an interactive thriller. So, if you enjoyed what you heard here today, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and do all the things you need to do to keep informed of when we broadcast. And on that note, I shall wish you good gaming. Yeah. Yeah.